Hi, it's Adam from realitymanifestation.com, and within this video I want to be going over the 6 human needs and simplifying them so you can apply them to start taking empowered action. I'm also going to be going over how all human behaviour is based on meeting these needs, how to become more aware of which needs you're meeting, how to make tasks or events that you've been avoiding more inspiring so you'll actually want to take action on them, and how applying the 6 human needs but becoming aware of them will allow you to live a happier and more fulfilling life. Now, just before I go into these needs, what they are and how to start applying them, it's worth putting extra emphasis on just how powerful and important understanding these needs really are, as all behaviour that we do is based on meeting these needs. So if you're finding, like myself, you in the past or still are currently, you've been taking disempowering action, you keep doing things you know you shouldn't be doing and in the long term are no good for you. Just give some common examples. Say if you're binge eating, excessively drinking, you avoid exercising when you know you should do, you're having to force yourself with willpower to try and get yourself to go towards your goals, doing something you know is going to benefit your life, and you just can't understand why you keep sabotaging and wanting to do something else instead. So now, as you can see from this beautifully designed table I made myself, even managed to add a bit of colour in there, shows the 6 human needs. Now these aren't to be confused with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I originally learned this concept from Tony Robbins, who discovered this after working with millions of people through his seminars, coaching clients and people he worked with around the world. And Tony realised that with all the similar problems with the variations around them, it's because our beliefs and values are unique, but the needs we must meet are the same 6. So basically we keep having the same sort of problems because it's based on these 6 needs. The only difference is that makes us unique is how we have different beliefs, values and different rules in how we meet them, which I'll cover more in a moment. But the fundamental needs that we have are the same 6, as you can see on here. So we're going to come back to this table and explain in more detail what everything represents, but we're going to go through each need first in more detail of what they represent and what they are exactly. So our first need is a need for certainty. We all have a need to avoid pain and to gain pleasure. It's part of our survival instincts. If you was unsure whilst watching or listening to this, if you was in a room, if the roof above your head was going to collapse on you or not, you'd completely lose interest in this video. And your number one priority would be to make sure you're safe. You want to be certain that you're safety. So it's all to do with safety and survival, but it's also around comfort. So it's not just about keeping you alive, it's about being able to find comfort or pleasure in avoiding pain. Examples of meeting our need for certainty are basically anything that makes us feel comfort or gives us pleasure. So this could be from eating food that we enjoy. It can be from even taking drugs, from any form of entertainment such as TV, video games, binge watching a series on Netflix. Don't act like you've never done it before. Other examples can be from trying to control everything and everyone around us. So basically we feel certain we know what's going to be happening. We know what someone's going to be doing. We know what's going to happen with our work, whether we go on holidays, if we want to control and know what's happening with where we're going to some place or location. We can also meet our need for certainty by feeling that we're being guided by, whether it's God, the universe, a greater form of intelligence, and that can give us a sense of certainty that we're being guided by what we're connected to, and that gives us that reassurance of knowing that we're going in the right direction or that greater intelligence is going to take care of us. So what happens when we become too certain? We're too certain of everything that's going to happen, so we know exactly what's going to happen with our partners, what they're going to say to us, or how they're going to act. We know exactly what's going to happen at work. We know what's going to happen when we come home, when we're watching or taking part in the same forms of entertainment. We know exactly what's going to happen. As you can imagine, it sounds extremely boring, as it definitely will become if everything starts to become too certain, which leads on to our second need, which is a need for uncertainty, which could also be described as variety. We all need surprise and variety in our life, as challenges make us feel alive and it stimulates us. Ways we can meet a need for variety is through alcohol, different surprising events or forms of entertainment. So for example, say if you're going to watch a sporting event and you knew exactly what was going to happen, you knew exactly when people were going to score, would you find it as entertaining? For the majority of you, unless you're absolutely craving some form of certainty, would be no. You'd want the variety of knowing, well, of not knowing, should I say, of who's going to win, as it adds that stimulation to you. You don't know what's going to happen, so there's variation within that event. So that's like a more in-depth example of how we could meet a need for variety. Another example of how we can meet a need for variety is, say for example, with myself when I used to be a personal trainer. When I was training people, even though it was still around exercising, eating healthier, since you'd have quite a diverse variation of people, with unique personalities, and even though they would have similar goals, such as if they were wanting to lose weight or build muscle, there'd be different variations of how I'd train him towards that. And like I say, from the different interactions within that in itself added variation as well, because it wasn't the exact same routines or the exact same conversations. Whereas if it was, it may be extremely certain, but since there'd be no variety, it would become extremely boring. And you've probably heard the phrase, variety is the spice of life, which can definitely be true, and some people have their need for variety much more important to them than others, but I'm going to go through that in more detail later on. And also expanding from the last example, say with personal training, or if you're doing some kind of work and you're finding it's getting very boring even though it used to be much more exciting for you, maybe it's because you've become too certain and you're not striving for bigger and harder challenges. You've kind of become comfortable, it's become too certain, so maybe you need to add some more variety into the current work that you're doing. But if we start to feel too uncertain, this can lead us to feeling fearful and out of control. This is why it's important to find a good balance between certainty and uncertainty. Our third need is a need for significance. We'll have a need to feel that we're significant, or that could be described as feeling important, special, or unique. Examples of how people can meet the need for significance could be earning a lot of money, having the best cars, clothes, earning big awards, achievements, succeeding or performing very well at something, feeling what they do is important or that it's needed, that it's highly valued. It could even be by showing others that they have the biggest problem. So for example, if someone complains about how difficult their current life is or problems they're having at work, and they want to really emphasize the struggle they're going through, that can be a way of someone making themselves feel unique or special or different. And if someone finds, oh, I'm above this need, I'm enlightened, I'm a spiritual seeker, I'm above this significance nonsense, well, isn't that their way of feeling unique or special or different, that they're so enlightened? So this is a trick that our egos can play on us as well. Going slightly off the needs side of things is how, by being a spiritual seeker, can actually make us thinking that we're becoming more enlightened, we're meeting our need for significance. Look at that unenlightened peasant. No, I'm only joking, so you get the point of what I'm saying though, and I've been guilty of doing that myself in the past. I've also had periods where I've made myself wrong for meeting my need for significance as well, thinking, well, it's just for my ego, I shouldn't be doing this. But it's a need that we all have. And rather than thinking, is what I'm doing good or bad, and the way of meeting your needs, which I'm going to go through more in a moment, is it having an empowering or disempowering effect on your life? Basically, is it improving the quality of your life or those around you that you care for? Or is it having the opposite effect? The reason I wanted to share this, because I know a lot of spiritual seekers end up going through this where they do anything that makes them feel more important. They sometimes make themselves feel guilty for it, because we're quite often taught not to do anything that makes us feel special or unique, but it's a need that we all have. Now, whether going above or beyond that and becoming enlightened, that's a completely different talk for another time, and clearly something I've not achieved myself, but just in terms of within our psychology and human behaviour, it's a need that we all have. To give some more empowering examples and more constructive ways of meeting need for significance, it could be creating big corporations that make a positive impact in the world by feeling special and unique, that you've made such a difference on improving other people's quality of lives, and knowing what you've done is important. But if we end up feeling so significant, so unique and special in comparison to others that we feel separated and we can no longer relate and connect to people, it violates our fourth need, which is love and connection. We all have a need to connect with others, including ourselves. This need can be met simply by interacting with others, or in any way that gives us a sense of feeling connected with people, which could be accepted into a club, even into a street gang. Some people focus performing at a high level, whether it's at work or a sports team, just because they'll get the approval and connection with other people around them. So that's one way as well, or a more constructive way of meeting your need for love and connection. Another way is in an intimate relationship. This need also includes connecting with ourselves, so this could be focusing on how sad we feel, how lonely we feel, so we're connecting with ourselves, we're focusing on our own emotions, or taking drugs or alcohol to be accepted into a group, and again to get that connection with people. So with every need there's empowering and disempowering ways of meeting it. And with certainty and uncertainty there's also a balancing act between significance and love and connection as well. Now, coming back to this state-of-the-art table, as we've gone through the first 4 needs, as you can see, these are labelled as the 4 fundamental needs, which are the needs we'll always find a way of meeting as a priority. We'll need to meet all 6, but we'll always find a way of meeting these first 4 no matter what. And as you can see with the arrows representative, with certainty, uncertainty and variety, there's a balancing act in between them to in contrast to each other. So as I've gone through before, if you're too certain, you'll end up craving uncertainty, and vice versa. If you have too much uncertainty, you will crave more certainty. And the same with significance, love and connection. So it's about trying to find a balancing act between the 2 corresponding needs. And even though we'll always find a way of meeting these first 4 fundamental needs, without meeting our last 2 needs, which are the needs of the spirit, we won't have a life that's truly full of joy and that's fundamentally fulfilling, which are growth and contribution. Everything in nature is either growing or contributing. If something stops growing or contributing, it dies. And if it does die, it contributes by fertilizing the soil. So the way nature and our reality is designed, things are always growing and contributing. So to go into a bit more detail of these last 2 needs, starting with growth, no matter how much someone has achieved in their life, if someone doesn't feel like they're growing, they'll feel unfulfilled and feel like they're dying inside. Because by growing, it gives someone a sense of purpose. Even if someone isn't where they want to be in their life right now, or even if the circumstances are what they consider terrible, if they feel like they're growing, expanding and moving towards where they want to be, they'll feel a sense of passion and that they're alive. But the fundamental reason why we do grow is to meet our 6th need, which is the need to contribute. We all have a need to contribute beyond ourselves. This is when we experience true joy and fulfillment, as happiness and excitement only lasts temporarily. So say if you achieve a reward, you have a special romantic evening, you earn a certain amount of money, whatever it may be, those things are only temporary. They only have an impact on you and meet those other 4 fundamental needs I've talked about, whether it's variety, love, connection, significance. They'll only last so long. The only thing that truly lasts and will truly make someone feel fulfilled is through a sense of contribution. And more accurately to put as well, that someone feels like they've contributed, because quite often someone could have had many reasons to feel like they've contributed, or many reasons to feel like they're significant, or they're growing, or they've got variety. But everything we experience comes down to the meanings we attach to it. This is why you can get people, and you've probably heard countless stories of celebrities that have had what people culturally would say is they have it all. They have money, the fame, people around them who adore them, love them, millions of fans. But deep inside they feel completely unfulfilled, and some unfortunately end up taking their lives. And this can happen when people achieve great big goals as well. They end up getting that high paying job that they've always thought would make them happy, or meet that certain partner, or they earn that certain achievement award, they get a gold medal in something. If after they're still feeling unfulfilled, it's because deep down they're not allowing themselves to feel like they're meeting their needs, but also they're not meeting the needs of the spirit, where they're truly going above and beyond themselves, where they're not just only growing but they're also contributing. Now that we've covered the basics of the 6 human needs, it's worth becoming aware of the different kinds of vehicles we can use to meet them, and more importantly the vehicles that you're using yourselves to meet your own needs, And this is where we can start practically making changes. So you'll start moving more towards empowering vehicles that will have a positive impact in your life. So in case you don't know what I mean by a vehicle, I mean, what is it you're using to meet your needs? What is it that you do to make yourself feel certain, that you feel comfortable? What do you do to make yourself have variety and uncertainty in your life? What do you do to make yourself feel significant? How do you feel and get love and connection with people? What do you do to make yourself feel like growing or contributing? The reason this is so important to become aware of, because if you keep performing some pattern of behaviour that's having a negative, disempowering impact on your life, at some level, even if it's at a low level, it's meeting your needs. And anything that meets at least 3 other needs at a high level, or even more, becomes addictive. And anything that meets several needs at a very high level can become extremely addictive. Now the question isn't whether something is addictive or not, whether that's a good or a bad thing, it's whether it's having a empowering or disempowering impact on your life. Say if someone can constantly put themselves into their work and they're having a huge impact on everyone around them, it's having nothing but positive impacts in their life, that can be a very empowering way of meeting all of the needs. But then it comes down to, say, if they're neglecting the family because they're meeting the needs at a much higher level through their work, but when it comes to spending time with the kids, they may avoid it because they don't realise, for whatever reason, the kids argue with them, don't listen to what they say. It might make them feel insignificant. So it's worth becoming aware what vehicles you use to meet your needs, because this is going to give you a very good idea of why you will do what it is that you're currently doing or not doing. And remember, these are called the 6 needs. They're not negotiable. They're not just something we meet when we feel like it. Whatever somebody's doing, whether it seems insane to them or insane to others, in some way it's meeting the needs, as everything that we do and at some level is meeting our needs. So I know I've said that several times, but I want to really put that point across, because once you understand this, you'll be able to start understanding why you won't be doing what you say you want to do, or why you've been doing something that you know is bad for you. A quote from Tony Robbins is that people will violate their values to meet their needs. Choosing the wrong vehicle only leads to pain. To give an example of this, say someone's really craving variety and they're finding their relationship very certain, it's basically very predictable, and they're finding it boring and they're wanting variety. A destructive vehicle they could use is they could cheat on the partner, they could get variety in that way, even though one of their values is to be faithful. But they've used a destructive vehicle to meet that need for variety. And this isn't just an example I made up, this is one Tony Robbins has come across many times himself with people he's worked with through seminars and various coaching. So this is how powerful these needs are, and so important to become aware of the vehicles that we're using to meet them, because we can violate even our own values if we're caught in a pattern of meeting our needs using destructive vehicles. So what we want to do and find is constructive, empowering vehicles of ways that will meet them at a high level that empowers our lives, has a positive impact. Now, a really useful exercise to do, and you'll have a powerful realization if you do this, so don't just listen or watch this video, actually go ahead and do this, otherwise you'll likely think, yeah, this is an interesting concept, but if you don't apply it, what difference is it going to really make on your life other than just interesting conversation? So the exercise is, get a piece of paper or just any way you can write it down, whether it's on your computer, laptop, whatever, is write down each 6 need, as you can see on the screen with another beautiful diagram I've handcrafted myself, is contribution, growth, as you can see, and pick something that you absolutely love to do, that's something you could spend all day doing, that takes no effort at all, or if anything, you sometimes have to stop yourself from doing it, because you could find yourself doing it all day and there's other tasks that you need to do. So whether it's something constructive or deconstructive, whether it's working all day, whether it's eating all day, watching Netflix all day, whatever it is, but make sure you pick something that you absolutely love. So think of like your favourite thing to do, and then write down how certain it makes you feel, how much variety you get from it, how important and significant you feel from it, how much love connection. Do you feel like you're growing? Do you feel like you're contributing? You get the point now. Put next to it on a scale of 0 to 10 how much it meets your needs. So if it's 10, it means it meets an extremely high level. If it's 1 or below, if it was a low number, it's basically like taking away from it. It might be making you feel uncertain or completely uncertain. So do that for something you absolutely love. I'm just going to give you a few seconds to pause the video. Okay, welcome back if you've gone and done this. Now if you actually did this, you would have found whatever it is that you chose and that you find you can easily do on a regular basis, that it meets your needs at a high level, or at least meets a few of them at a very high level. I'd be interested to know in the comments below, unless it's something you're not wanting to share, what it is you've discovered through this first exercise. Now what I want you to do is to do the exact same, but for something that you hate doing or something you find that you regularly avoid doing, and ideally something that you've been putting off that you know you should do, but you just keep putting something else as a priority in front of it, or you just keep avoiding it, and you'll have likely another powerful realization, and it will be a good segue to what I'm about to go into in a moment. So if you do the exact same thing, so make another table or however you've laid it out with the 6 needs, pick something that you've been avoiding, ideally something you know you should be doing, and put next to it how it's meeting your needs. So I want to give you a few seconds again to pause the video, or if you're listening, to pause the audio. Okay, welcome back. So if you went and did this exercise, you've likely found it's meeting some of your needs at a low level, or it's not meeting them at all. Now the reason this is such a powerful exercise to do, because now you become aware of what you enjoy doing, how that's meeting your needs, and what you're avoiding, how it isn't meeting your needs, of the impact of and how important it is of getting what you're wanting to do so it's meeting your needs at a high level. And you can do this by either changing your circumstances or how you view what it is that you've been avoiding. So to give you an example, when I used to be a personal trainer, quite often when people would come to the gym who generally dislike exercise and they just really struggle to get themselves to do it on a consistent basis, I'd get them to do this exercise. They'd usually rate that they'd find exercises painful and uncomfortable, so basically it'd be a low amount of certainty. They'd keep doing the same kind of exercise, so they'd get very little variety. Since they're not very good at it and they feel like people are judging them, they'd feel insignificant. They're using their free time they'd normally spend with their friends and family to come to the gym and exercise, so again it's taken away from the love and connection. They'd get a little bit of growth because they know they're improving their health and physique and their general well-being, but again still not that much. And in terms of contributing to others, they may think a little bit it's helping the family, but really they don't feel it. So it was meeting the needs at a very low level, so it's no surprise that they was finding exercise is something very unpleasant and something that they didn't want to do on a consistent basis. So what I mean now by changing your circumstances or your beliefs around the activity that you've been putting off to get it to meet your needs at a high level. Someone, for example, who really craves love and connection and has that as an important need that they need to meet, and we all need to meet them all, but I'll go through this more in a moment, could go to the gym with a partner, which would make them have much more connection whilst they're exercising. They could listen to music while they're exercising as well. That could add some more variety, could make it more comfortable. They wouldn't necessarily have to train as hard, so they would make it so it's more comfortable, there'd be more certainty. They could end up either going to a different environment, different part of the gym where they feel more confident in, so they'd feel more significant. But quite a common way people would do this is they'd go to exercise classes because there'd be a variety of people there, there'd be people they could connect with, they'd feel more comfortable, so they're more significant, more certainty. They'd see that they're progressing with people in the class, so they'd be growing, and if they'd go and help people within that class, they'd be contributing. So that's one example of how changing your circumstances can make it so it's much easier to meet your needs with an activity that you're wanting to do. Now in terms of changing your views and beliefs around it, so another common scenario I used to run through when I was personal training people is they'd have in their mind when they go to the gym and using a piece of equipment that people are always watching them, judging them, and they'd feel very self-conscious whilst I was in the gym or on a piece of equipment. In actual reality, quite often people are just looking around or waiting to see if they've finished on the machine. But without going into that conversation, a way of someone how they could change the perception with it could be that even though despite they've known or think people might be judging them, that they're going despite all of that because they're going to do it for their own benefit, and it only matters what the person going to the gym thinks of themselves, is that could actually lead them to feeling significant, knowing they've done it despite the fear or anxiety they've had. I'm not saying that's necessarily easy to do for everyone, but that's just one example how changing your perception on something can make it so even doing the exact same thing will meet your needs at a higher or lower level. Because fundamentally, even though we have the same 6 needs, and we might meet them in different ways because we use different vehicles, it's how we perceive something, whether we allow it to make us feel significant or insignificant. Again, this is how we can get people who have seemed to have achieved it all, but they don't allow themselves to feel like they've contributed or grown or significant, etc. So fundamentally, how we perceive things is just as important as changing the procedure as well. But once you become aware of how something you've been putting off and avoiding is or isn't meeting your needs, now that you can find ways of going to look at how you can change your circumstances so it'll just more naturally meet your needs at a higher level. You want to set yourself up to win, you want to set yourself up to whatever you're wanting to do, it's naturally going to be done in a way that meets your needs at a higher level, so you're not trying to force yourself or willpower. Or ask yourself questions, what else could this mean with, in terms of, say if something is making you feel less significant when you're doing it, is the meaning you're attaching to it, is it actually true? So going back to the example of the gym, are people really judging you? Are people really thinking, oh, what are they doing in the gym, or saying any funny remarks around you? Is that something that's actually true? So these are different ways of being able to make something that you've been avoiding doing to meet needs at a high level. But also it's worth becoming aware of this with destructive patterns of behaviour as well. If you're finding you can't help yourself from keep doing something that is having a disempowering impact in your life, because if that pattern of behaviour is meeting a lot of your needs, you can't just stop yourself from doing it until you find a replacement that meets your needs at just as much of a high level, if not higher, or unless you start to associate great levels of pain to that current pattern of behaviour as well. And this is why you can get some people who will quit smoking and instead they start eating, or people who stop binge eating, they will start smoking because they've not found a constructive vehicle to meet the needs that the previous pattern of behaviour was meeting at just as high a level. So this is why it's vitally important to find that new vehicle to replace the current pattern of behaviour that you're wanting to change. Just a few last points I want to go through that's worth noting around the 6 human needs. Even though we'll all find ways of meeting all 6, we'll all have 2 that we prioritise in particular. So that we'll have 2 that are more important to us, that will go out of their way to meet these certain 2 needs as more of a priority over others. So to give an example, let's say someone's 2 primary needs that they've focused on were certainty and significance, with the main one being certainty. Let's say there was 2 opportunities where one was that they were very certain that by doing this that they'd feel significant with it, without taking into account how it would impact their other needs to keep it more simple. But then there could be another opportunity where they could feel extremely significant, but they're less certain that they'd get that significance from it. They're most likely to take the first opportunity where they're certain that they'll get that significance, because their prime driver is their need for certainty. We can get some people on the complete opposite side where their main need they have as their top priority is uncertainty and variety. They'll go out of their way to find ways that they will feel significant, but that adds lots of variety in it. So they might actually want to have a situation where they're less likely to get a result, so there's more variety and more stimulus in it basically. And if you're able to start identifying yourself which 2 needs are your own 2 primary needs, you'll be able to get a much better understanding of why you go to do what you do and what scenarios, situations will be best for you, or what kind of job opportunities, etc. will be more in alignment with what needs that you prioritize the most, so you'll more naturally meet your needs at a higher level, so you'll feel much more fulfilled more easily. If you wanted to know about the importance of managing your state on a day-to-day basis, which is basically how you feel in any given moment, because this will have a huge impact on what vehicles you'll choose to use to meet your needs. I've covered this in a previous video called Raise Your Vibration to Unblock Your Success. Now, to summarise everything that's been covered in this video, as we've covered a lot, all human behaviour, whether it seems insane to the individual or to others, in some ways meeting the needs or all of the needs. We all have different beliefs, values, and different rules on how our needs are met and how we perceive them being met, and that's what causes us to be unique. But we still have the same 6 needs. But what makes us unique is the different views, values, and beliefs that we have around how things should be, or what causes us to feel certain significance, etc. We all have 2 needs that we prioritize the most, which has a huge impact on the decisions and the behaviors we have throughout life. We'll always find a way of meeting all of our needs, especially the first 4 fundamental, but to have a happy and fulfilling life, we need to meet the final 2 needs of the spirit, which are growth and contribution. I always love to hear people's biggest insights and learnings they're going to apply from any of our videos. If you could comment and let me know below. If you're new to the channel, if you want to see more content and get it on a regular basis, if you could click on the subscribe button. Also, if you want to get notified when we upload and post new videos, if you click on the bell icon. If you found this video useful, if you could also give it a like. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I shall see you next time.